Hey guys, and welcome back to Vlogoween. Today is going to be a little bit of a different vlog since I basically was just catching up on Inktober all day. So I figured I would show you what I worked on today, have that as a time lapse in the background, and I would get to answering some questions from you guys. So get yourself a snack, a cup of tea, and let's hang out and chat a bit. So there have been a lot of really good questions coming in on my vlogs, and I wanted to answer one that came in recently. So the Dreamer 843 asked me, I was wondering how you came up with your brand, like the name and style of your art and store. Was it something you thought about or something that evolved over time? What advice would you give to someone wanting to start their own business regarding branding? So that's a pretty complex question, but I figured I would take today's vlog to kind of go over where I am with branding and how I got to where I am right now. So for a while, I never really had an artist name and never really thought about branding even when I was in school. I probably should have, but I didn't. When I started to take selling my art more seriously, I decided I wanted to have some sort of artist name that wasn't just my first and last name. I wanted something a little unique, but really easy to remember and something that was really professional to use. So I originally used just my middle name, Charlie. I simply went by Charlie Design or Charlie Designs. And I even have some old business cards that have that name on it. I was not really focused on what art I wanted to sell, and I was a little bit into photography, a little bit into crafting, and I drew some too. I have always been interested in art and making things, but I didn't feel 100% comfortable calling myself an illustrator or even an artist in 2D design. So jump up a little bit in time to about 2015, the end of 2015, I reevaluated where I was with my artist self. Some of you know that I do have a background in psychology, and so I was focusing on my marriage and family therapy and art therapy degree, and I developed a lot as an artist personally from taking those classes because there was a lot of self-discovery in the kind of art directives and art things we would do, because those were art directives intended for clients, for them to help understand themselves and work through personal problems and stress and trauma. So naturally, as I went through my program, I discovered a lot about myself, and by the end of my program, when I graduated, I decided that I wanted to be a professional artist, at least for this phase in my life, and knew that I needed to take it seriously to be taken seriously. So I revisited my brand name and focused a little bit more on the kind of artwork I would make, and decided I would work more in the illustration field. So as I was revisiting this, I was rethinking my name and wanted to use my name still, and I figured having a first and secondary name, not my last name, might be useful because it's still my legal name. I was also in the middle of being engaged and I was going to be changing my last name, so I wanted to stick with the names that I was born with, my first and middle name, so Jennifer Charlee. The great thing is Jennifer's a really common name and really easy for people to spell and find, but my middle name is a little bit different, but it makes it unique enough that there's not any other artist going by the same name. So that's something that would be some advice I would have, is you want something professional but uniquely you enough that it's really easy for people and clients to find you. So once I had that, I focused on branding for the last couple years, really, starting in 2015 or so and continuing to now. I feel like it's been an ever-evolving process, but I noticed as I practiced more and more in my sketchbook and making art pieces, I realized that I really loved whimsical art and using softer colors, and focused kind of in that area, and really wanted to eventually work in children's illustration, kind of this whimsy feel. And while I was in my psychology master's, we had gone over what were called spirit animals, and I had realized that I have a very deep and great love for the fox and self-identify that as being my spirit animal. So I figured if I'm gonna have some sort of logo or a store name for not only online, but when I was selling at artist alleys and different places, having a store name felt like kind of the right thing. So my artist name being Jennifer Charlee, and I'm the artist at said store name. So coming up with that name, I wanted to have something to do with foxes and something to do with making the customer feel a sort of sense of whimsy. And whimsical fox didn't sound right. And I think I wanted some alliteration there, so Fairytale fox, and then adding the designs on the end was just sort of a personal choice, made the most sense for having a store name and having a little bit more of a descriptive couple of words that explain more or less the style of art that I do. I also loved that I could incorporate as many foxes as possible because it was, quote, on brand. And everything else is sort of history. I have thought about changing my name a little bit here and there since I have started to move in to drawing animals and plants together quite often. But I think Fairytale Fox Designs really makes a lot of sense for the type of art I do, and I think it still fits and is quote-unquote on brand. I don't think everybody needs to have a separate store name. I felt like it was something that was really helpful because it again gives some descriptive words of the kind of art you're going to see when you step into my store, whether online or in person at artist alleys or art fairs. I feel like it gives an overall good sense of and a good encapsulation of the type of art that I do, since just my name doesn't really tell you very much of what I do. So I am pretty happy with what I have so far. It was a little difficult coming up with what I would use for social media. Once I decided I wanted my first and middle name, I went around to social media and made sure I could have an account on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook with that name. And since that was pretty readily available, I knew that that was going to be a really good name to have. I also wanted to mention that it's sort of unfortunate, but taking social media, what is available for names on social media is actually something that we have to think about nowadays. If you have this great idea for your artist name or for your store name, and those names are taken by somebody else, it might be something you have to rethink. You don't want to have to compete with this other person, especially if it's another illustrator or another artist, and especially if they do somewhat similar work to yours. You don't want your potential customers to have any confusion getting to your store and to your social media and your content. So I do think that it's important to keep in mind what is available on social media and what is unique to you. I think some more advice I would have is to just do a little bit of soul searching, figure out what feels right. If you have a certain affinity for certain words or an animal or something else, maybe a color that you typically use. I think it's definitely a balance of figuring out what is uniquely you from a permanent perspective. So like me, my first and middle name are not going to change unless I go and legally change them. So I knew that was something that wasn't going to change, and it took me a little longer to figure out the Fairytale Fox Designs name, but I knew after thinking about it for a while and looking for similar names online that it both fit the work I do, at least for right now, and it was unique enough for people to be able to find me. But I think that's the harder part, is finding something that is semi-permanent, and it's difficult because your art style might change. And that's why I think it's important to have your shop name be this sort of descriptive word or title. So if my style somehow drastically changes in the future and Fairytale Fox Designs does not really fit that, I think I could open up a new store or go buy a different brand for a new art style if I needed to. My advice is to look at the type of work you do, look for what your style might be. If you're still in the middle of figuring that out, that's totally okay. If you feel like you flip-flop a lot with your style, it might be good to have a store name that is just your name, or something that is a descriptor of you as an artist. So first name artist, first and middle name artist, or illustrator, something like that tacked on to the end for social media. If you find that you are always drawing certain subjects or using certain colors, attach those words to your business more permanently, and then you have a name. I find that it's really important to have something unique enough to be searchable and found with little competition with other artists and stores online. And it's important that whatever your name is truly fits the art style and the artwork that you're selling. As far as branding goes with visuals, trying to keep it as simple as possible is really helpful. So I sort of attached my brand to just a few colors. I drew that, what I call Fairytale Fox, with the pink fox and the succulent, and that ended up being a logo of mine, which was not the intent of it when I made it. I did, though, really love all those colors and realized that I would like to continue to use those. I decided to have a lot of my social media and branding be around this sort of dusty blue teal, and that was just something I chose that I felt really worked with a lot of different colors, since blue is almost a neutral. So that is something I use for backgrounds, and I stick with those colors. The more simple your color scheme, the easier it is for you to be able to pick from this color palette, pick from these shapes and things that fit your brand, and duplicate it and have a little bit of cohesion with your brand throughout social media and banners and things you might have printed, as well as it'll be easier on the potential customers to be able to identify you quickly by a color scheme. If they go to Twitter and the colors are completely different, they might not even realize it's you. Even if it has the same logo, they might be thrown off and they might not follow you because they're not sure if that's the same account, the same artist. So I think it's really important to pick a limited color scheme and then stick with that throughout. Okay, that was a little long-winded and possibly a little bit of a long video for you guys, but I thought this was an interesting topic to talk about, and I did have some opinions on it, so I thought I would dedicate this entire video to it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below if you're enjoying this content and enjoying what I'm doing for Inktober. Let me know down below if you have ideas for other animals I should add to this flora and fauna kind of project that I've been working on for Inktober. If there's a favorite animal of yours, maybe something that could be for your brand, let me know what it is down below and I might include it if I feel like it fits with the rest of the animals for this book. So I did want to mention that I do want to turn this collection into some sort of printed book. I would like to color all of these inked pieces, and I would really love to put together a zine or some sort of illustrated book. If you guys are interested in that, make sure to like the video and let me know down below that you're excited so that I can make that happen. As always, I hope you guys have a creatively fulfilled day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye guys!